Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Joelle and I resell on Poshmark, Mercari, Depop, and whatnot. And after taking a week off from YouTube, I'm feeling very refreshed and ready to go. And today I have a video for you about what's been selling lately on Poshmark. If you don't know, I am in law school full-time and I am trying to resell full-time as well since this is my only income. And so I've kind of been struggling in the first couple months of law school to balance out my schedule. I typically post YouTube videos every Friday, but I decided to take the week off so I could just refresh and focus more on reselling in law school and trying to balance out that schedule. And if you're a current subscriber, you might have seen the poll that I posted last week. I just wanted to see what types of videos you all prefer that I post, and the majority of you all prefer to see what sold videos. So real quick before we get into what has been selling lately in the past couple of weeks, I want to let you all know that I typically do a what sold video once a month, but I'm going to try my best to transition to doing what sold videos every 2 weeks. I'll also be posting a thrift haul once a month, and then all the other videos filled in will be ThredUp unboxings, tips and tricks. I have a couple of whatnot videos that I want to make, and really just any other suggestions that you all have. But for today's what sold video, I was looking through what has been selling lately on Poshmark and a couple of other platforms, but I've primarily been focusing on Poshmark these past couple weeks. I noticed that my sold listings pretty much all fit into 3 categories. They all correlate with fall. I've been selling a lot of boots, jackets, and then sweaters or sweatshirts. So to start things off, I'm going to talk about boots that I've been selling in the past couple weeks. And first up, I have a pair of Blondo black waterproof ankle booties. These had actually been sitting for about 5 to 6 months, which kind of shocked me because Blondo is a great bolo brand to sell. You'll see this brand a lot at Nordstrom and Nordstrom Rack, but I actually ended up getting a really great profit for these. They sold on a $52 offer plus discounted shipping, which is my standard 20% off offer that I send to new likers. I received these boots in a ThredUp shoe rescue box, so my cost of goods was just $5.34. And after all those fees and costs of goods, I ended up profiting $34.54. My next sold pair of boots that I will talk about is one of my favorite brands to sell, but I never seem to find it in the thrift store. I sold a pair of Doc Marten combat boots. This is one of their iconic pairs of boots. It is the 1460 style, and they sold on a $105 counter offer, and they were listed for $130. So some might see that as not so reasonable, but like I said, I do send a standard 20% off plus discounted shipping. So she only asked for $10 less than my offer price, and so I did not hesitate to accept that, especially because these sold within just 3 or 4 days of listing. And my parents were gracious enough to purchase these from a discount store. They were actually marked at $51 and they were new without tags. Honestly, if I saw them brand new, I would probably pay up to around $50, but again, they were gracious enough to purchase them for me, so my cost of goods were $0 and I ended up profiting $84 for these boots. Next up is a brand that I've always been familiar with, but I didn't realize it was a bolo brand. I sold a pair of FitFlop Dash ankle booties for $30. I do have a fairly sad story about these boots. So like I said, I've been focusing on Poshmark primarily. I really haven't been cross-listing on Mercari and Depop as much as I should be. And I've also been forgetting to delist the items that have sold on Poshmark. So these were cross-listed to Depop and Mercari. And a couple days after they sold and the order was completed, I received a $40 offer on Mercari for these boots. So obviously that was frustrating because I could have made $10 more on these boots had I sold them on Mercari, but nevertheless, I paid $4.99 for these and I still ended up profiting $19.01 for these boots. Next up is a pair of boots that my mom gave to me, and they were actually sitting in my unlisted inventory for about 8 months. I sold a pair of Born suede boots. I don't know why they were sitting so long because it's a pretty bulky pair of shoes that you really can't miss in your death pile, but for whatever reason, I had not listed them. The day that I decided to list them, however, they ended up getting a ton of likes on all of my platforms. And because they were in like new condition, I did list them for $40, but I was definitely willing to part ways with them for a lower price because my cost of goods were $0. So these ended up selling within just a week of listing. They sold during my Labor Day sale where I sent off 50% off offers to all of my likers. It was a very successful sale. I definitely didn't make a lot of profit per item, but I was able to move a lot of inventory at once. And for these boots, I ended up profiting $16 total. My final pair of boots that I will talk about, and then we'll get into jackets, was a pair of kids Tims, and I received these in my first ever ThredUp box. So these have been listed for about a year. I had them listed pretty low at $25, and finally I received a $20 offer on Mercari. I did not hesitate to accept that because they had been listed for a year, and I was definitely excited about these boots when I first unboxed them. I figured that Tims would sell pretty well, but I didn't realize that kids comps were significantly lower for this brand as they are for a lot of other brands. Like those Blondo boots, my cost of goods, because they were from a ThredUp shoe rescue box, was just $5.34. And after a whole year of listing, I ended up profiting $11.78. All right, now we're going to get into jackets. My first sold jacket that I'm going to talk about is just total Barbiecore. If you're not aware, Barbiecore is a very trending style right now. So if you're in the thrift stores, definitely make sure to look out for anything that is considered girly and anything pink. So I sold this hot pink Wilson's suede leather jacket on a $32 offer set by myself. It was one of those 20% off offers, so I had it listed at $40. And you guys, this was a jacket that had been listed for probably 4 or 5 months, which doesn't really bother me. I usually don't get bothered by items sitting until they've been listed for around 9 months to a year. But what really bothered me is that this jacket had at least 30 likes on it. It was also getting a lot of attention on Depop, which makes sense because this is a really unique item, and I just wasn't sure why this wasn't selling. I had sent out offers as low as $20 because I only paid 98 cents for this. But if I'm not mistaken, I think I added Barbiecore to the description to make it a little more SEO heavy for people who are looking for that style. So maybe that played a role in it finally being sold. But after all the fees and cost of goods, I ended up profiting $22.90 for this Wilson's leather jacket. This next jacket was a pretty small sale, but it was on that 50% off Labor Day sale. I sold this men's Columbia fleece jacket for just $15, and it came from a ThredUp men's rescue box, so my cost of goods were pretty low. If you all haven't checked out the ThredUp men's rescue box, I do have a few videos of me unboxing them. I want to say I've ordered at least 3, but maybe 4 at this point, and I'm definitely due up for another one. But my cost of goods per item in this box with the Columbia jacket was just $3.55, which is pretty low. Whenever I'm thrifting, I try to keep my cost of goods below $3. But when you're getting mystery items from ThredUp, $3.55 per item is still pretty low, and so I really like receiving these boxes. Now, like I said, with this 50% off sale, I did manage to move a lot of items. So even though I didn't get a lot of profit per item, it was still a huge profitable day. So after all those fees and cost of goods, I only profited $6.73, but this was a really quick sale. I want to say it sold within 2 weeks of listing, so I still consider that a huge win. This next jacket was another surprisingly quick sale. I sold this loft blazer jacket on a $17 offer during that Labor Day sale. Now I say this is a surprising sale because loft is known to sit for a really long time. I've definitely experienced that with some of my pieces, but I've also had some fairly quick sales. So like a lot of other brands, it all just depends on the pieces that you're picking up. But my cost of goods for this jacket were extremely low. I purchased this from a Philip bag sale. So my cost of goods for this jacket was only 62 cents, and I ended up profiting $11.26 from this sale. My next sold jacket from the last couple of weeks was a St. Louis Cardinals Majestic jacket. It sold on a $20 offer from a buyer. I had this listed for $25, and so anytime I receive a 20% off offer from a buyer, I always accept it, because if that person had not sent an offer but only liked the item, I would have sent a $20 offer anyways. If you've watched some of my past videos, you know that I've had a lot of success selling any type of sports or fan apparel, so I did not hesitate to pick this jacket up because it was only 98 cents, and I actually sold it to someone who was from St. Louis, so that was kind of cool. I know that it went to a home that is definitely going to love and wear the jacket, and after fees and cost of goods, I ended up profiting $15.02. My final 2 items for this category are vests. This first one is an Abercrombie & Fitch Sherpa vest. This was also from my men's ThredUp rescue box, and I sold it for $20. This came from the same box as that Columbia fleece jacket, so my cost of goods were only $3.55, and it also sold on the 50% off Labor Day sale. I don't know about you all, but Abercrombie is definitely a brand that has made a huge comeback. I'm always on the lookout for modern pieces in the thrift store. They come out with a lot of great basic pieces. When I'm in the thrift stores, I am primarily looking out for jeans, but I will also look out for jackets, loungewear, and really any type of pants. So like I said, my cost of goods were $3.55 for this vest, and I ended up profiting $10.73. All right, my final item to go over before we get into sweaters and sweatshirts was this Jaclyn Smith quilted vest. This sold on Mercari on a $16 offer on a $20 listing. Jaclyn Smith does not retail for a lot, but I did pick this up for style and because it was only 98 cents. I've learned that when it comes to jackets and vests, especially heavier vests like this one, it was definitely a warmer and thicker material. Brand doesn't really matter because people are always looking for them, especially if they live in a colder climate. So for 98 cents, I could not pass this one up, and I ended up profiting $12.66. All right, now we're on to the sweaters and sweatshirts category. We do have 6 items to go over, and then we will be done with this what sold video. But first up, I have a Depop sale for $15. I sold this Olivaceous cropped sweater. Olivaceous is a brand that I wouldn't necessarily pay up for because the retail isn't super high, but they do have a lot of great trendy pieces. So if you could find it for probably $5 or less, I definitely would pick it up if it's a good piece. This is one that I got from the bins, and I can't always remember my cost of goods per item per bins trip. So if I don't remember and I didn't make a YouTube video on it, I just say that my default is $1.50 per item. And this is a sweater that I probably would have listed for $25 or $30, but it got caught in a hanger and ended up ripping on the side. So that was definitely a flaw that I had to disclose, and so I did discount it. And when it comes to Depop and Mercari compared to Poshmark, the fees are definitely a lot lower, and so I was okay with selling this for $15 because I knew that I would still make at least $10 for it. So as I said, my cost of goods were about $1.50, and I ended up profiting $11.03 for this sweater. Next up was another 50% off Labor Day sale, and is one of my favorite brands to sell. I sold this Disney The Nightmare Before Christmas pullover sweatshirt for $13. I also got this at a fill a bag sale, but it was at a different store. My cost of goods for this sweatshirt was just 89 cents. And Disney is definitely a great brand to sell. Disney is just one of those brands that people always seem to be on the lookout for, so I never hesitate to pick it up in the thrift store. After fees and cost of goods, I profited just $7.44, which is not a high profit, but this did sell within just 2 weeks of listing, which I consider a huge success. Next up, I have this J. Jill Dolman sleeve sweater. I thought this was so cute for fall, and this was purchased at the same fill a bag sale as the previous sweatshirt, so my cost of goods were only 89 cents. And again, just like that Disney sweatshirt, this sold for 50% off on my Labor Day sale for $18, so my profits were still pretty decent for this sweater. J. Jill can be a hit or miss brand. I definitely don't have a lot of experience selling it, but I wasn't anticipating to make a huge profit. But after fees and cost of goods, I ended up profiting $11.79. This next piece was something that I found for 50% off on Memorial Day, and was also something that I thought would get some more attention. But I sold this LL Bean pullover sweatshirt for just $17 for my Labor Day sale. LL Bean is one of those brands that I really enjoy selling. Anytime I can find a pullover or a button down, I will always pick it up. And I actually found 2 of these on Labor Day for just $3.49 each, so I thought that was a great pickup. I put them into one listing, and this listing maybe got 2 to 3 likes, which is pretty unusual compared to other LL Bean pieces that I've sold. So I was definitely happy to get at least one of these pullovers moved out of my inventory, but I ended up only profiting $8.39. This next piece was an item that I definitely took a low offer on, but it did sell fairly quickly. I sold this St. John Collection sweater tank top for just $22. I think I had this listed for $50, but sold comps were only around $20 to $40. If you've sold St. John Collection, you know that some of their pieces can just sit for a long time. This was just a plain sweater tank, so I knew that it would sell for a very small fraction of the cost of other items like their very fancy beaded jackets. So when I received the $22 offer, I figured that I would just take it as a small victory and run with it, because if I wouldn't accept that offer, I was afraid that it would just sit for years. Now, my cost of goods for this was $4.49. It was supposed to be only $2.49, but I realized when I got home that the thrift store charged me a little bit more for it. But nevertheless, I still profited $13.11. and to get this brand moving out of my closet was a huge win. All right, for this final sale, it is by no means a high profit sale, but I sold this vintage American flag sweater tank. I don't even remember what brand this was, but I will include a picture of it. I picked this up at a garage sale for just $2, and even though comps weren't the best, I did list this for $25. I received a $12 counter offer on a $20 listing, which some might see as not reasonable, but for the low cost of goods, I figured that I would just accept it and move on. This past week, as I have been looking through my inventory and trying to organize a little more, I realized that I have a ton of tops. I love selling them, but a lot of tops just seem to sit for a long time. This was a sweater tank that had been listed since the beginning of summer, so it had only been a few months, but it had received a lot of attention and nobody seemed to be interested. So I was happy to receive this counter offer, and after fees and cost of goods, I profited $8.05. All right, we have now gone over all the sales for what's been selling lately for me on mostly Poshmark, but also Depop and Mercari. I've definitely slowed down with listing, but I have been making an effort the past couple days to create drafts and try to photograph more items. So for me, September has been a pretty average month of reselling. August was my most successful month, and so I'm kind of upset that I couldn't match those numbers, but I also know that I am just trying to find that balance between full-time reselling and full-time law school. So this month I have been dedicating my time not just to listing and packaging and selling items, but also the housekeeping that comes with reselling. But since we've gone over sales, I'm going to throw in just my little shameless plug now. I do have a Whatnot show coming up Saturday, September 24th at 9 a.m. It is an all activewear show. I think I have at least 4 Lululemon items, maybe a couple more. I have a few Athleta pieces and then a lot of Champion, Fabletics, and a ton of other brands. And I'm also throwing in a couple giveaways like I do for every show. So definitely make sure to check me out on Whatnot. It is linked below, and it's also Closet by Joelle if you just want to search through the app. But now that we're at the end of this video, thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you for the next video.